The film kicks off with the hectic buzz of a film set. Amid the frenzy, two property department crew members, Wang Li and Sui Ren, are casually munching on snacks. They're trusted right-hand men to Hong Rui, a once promising director whose past two films have been colossal failures. In the eyes of producers, Hong Rui is a running joke, known more for his flops than his talent. But despite the mockery, Hong Rui isn't ready to give up. His passion for filmmaking burns fiercely, even as the chaos of his latest project spirals out of control. Another shoot goes horribly wrong, leaving him humiliated and defeated. The tension doesn't end there. When he returns home, his father-in-law, Wei Tan, adds to the pressure. Wei Tan has always believed that Hong Rui is better suited to managing his noodle restaurant than chasing a filmmaking dream. In fact, he's offered Hong Rui a chance to run the restaurant, free of charge. But Hong Rui refuses. Despite everything, his dream of becoming a renowned director is far from over. After countless arguments and mounting frustration, Wei Tan finally throws in the towel. He hands over the restaurant to his assistant, Wang Qi, and washes his hands of Hong Rui. Their stubborn clashes, with Wei Tan lashing out in anger and belittling his son-in-law, push Hong Rui to a breaking point. Fueled by resentment, Hong Rui swears that one day if he makes it in the film industry, Wei Tan will be the one working for him. But fate has other plans. The chaos from his latest shoot spirals out of control, triggering a domino effect that cripples Hong Rui's current project. The investors pull out, leaving him with nothing. It's like the whole world has turned its back on him. The crew, defeated, apologizes and leaves, awaiting the day Hong Rui can secure new funding. Feeling the weight of failure bearing down on him, Hong Rui heads to the base camp to check on his film's equipment. To his surprise, he finds Wang Li, Sui Ren, and crew member Yue Qian already there, cleaning up the mess. As Hong Rui sees the crew cleaning up, he quickly rushes over to stop them. He's convinced the location still holds value. However, Wang Li points out that they haven't received severance pay yet, unlike the rest of the crew. The producer has even told them to sell the equipment off as compensation. Hong Rui explodes in anger, telling them to stop. He promises to secure new funding as long as they don't sell a single piece of equipment. His reasoning is simple. He believes that one day his film will be finished, and he'll need that equipment to make it happen. Just then, a thug storms in, claiming to be the boss of the car rental company Hong Rui used for the shoot. Hong Rui freezes, terrified to confront him. The thug, Ji Woo, doesn't know who rented the car, and Hong Rui sees a slim opportunity. Without missing a beat, he lies, telling Ji Woo that the building isn't a film base camp. It's a newly opened noodle restaurant. Wang Li, Sui Ren, and Yue Qian, who are desperate to hold on to their livelihoods, look at each other nervously. But then they decide to roll with Hong Rui's plan, uncertain but willing to follow his lead. Ji Woo narrows his eyes, clearly skeptical of the story. To test their claim, he orders food. In a panic, Hong Rui remembers a noodle restaurant just down the street from the set. Quick on his feet, he starts assigning roles to his crew, making this impromptu noodle restaurant work. Wang Li is the waiter, Yue Qian becomes the cashier, and Sui Ren is sent running back and forth to buy noodles. They quickly adapt, using the film's equipment to take Ji Woo's orders and manage the flow of customers. At first, the plan is a desperate lie to cover up the truth. But then, to their surprise, the place begins to fill up. The team keeps up the ruse, pretending to serve real food, all while Hong Rui stays laser-focused on his true goal, finishing his film. As time goes on, Hong Rui decides to keep the noodle restaurant open, using the profits to save up for his movie. But the reality hits hard. Running a business requires capital, and his funds are rapidly dwindling. In a last-ditch effort, he turns to his relatives for help, but as expected, they refuse. The weight of failure presses down on him, but he refuses to give up. With no one willing to back him up, Hong Rui finally considers swallowing his pride and asking his father-in-law, Wei Tan, for help. But before he can make the move, he overhears a conversation that stops him cold. Wei Tan is ranting behind his back, mocking him as if he's nothing but a burden. He resents how Hong Rui has treated his daughter, Mei Mei, and how her hard work and education are being disrespected. The sting of those harsh words cuts deep, and in that moment, Hong Rui makes a decision. He won't ask for help. Instead, he walks away, back to his noodle restaurant, determined to find another way. The next morning, Rui gathers his crew for a meeting. They brainstorm, trying to figure out how to keep the charade going. But every idea falls flat. That's when Khan slides a brochure across the table, an advertisement for a nationwide noodle competition, with a grand prize worth billions of yuan. A spark of hope flickers in Rui's eyes. This could be his chance to turn everything around, to finally get his film back on track. He makes a bold decision. He'll return to his roots and start cooking. A skill he'd always rejected, a skill he never acknowledged, is now his lifeline. Armed with a secret recipe he'd learned years ago, Rui sets out to make a name for himself, not just with his film, but with his cooking. Slowly but surely, the restaurant begins to surpass its competitors. It's not just the taste of the noodles, though that's part of it. The real magic lies in the service. Rui and his crew deliver an experience that keeps customers coming back for more. Not long after, Rui's restaurant's success doesn't go unnoticed. It stirs up resentment, especially from Fuzi, the owner of the second-best noodle restaurant in China. Though Fuzi has never been able to claim the top spot, being second is still a point of pride for him. Determined to put Rui in his place, Fuzi starts plotting. One morning, a man walks in and posting a flyer claiming to have made a reservation at Rui's restaurant. But Rui isn't fooled. He quickly realizes that this could be a trick, a move orchestrated by his rivals. As a former director, Rui doesn't hesitate. His mind races with a counterplan. Without missing a beat, he assigns his crew to go undercover. Wang Li and Sui Ren are tasked with keeping an eye on Fuzi's every move. Meanwhile, Rui prepares with his own team to execute the plan. Soon enough, Fuzi shows up, just as Rui anticipated. The trap is set and the team springs into action. The performance they put on is flawless, convincing, calculated, and precise. Fuzi quickly realizes he's been caught in a ruse, and with no way to carry out his plan, he flees, defeated and outwitted. As Rui's restaurant continued to thrive, word of its success spread all the way to Weitan. Intrigued by the sudden rise, Weitan sent Wang Qi to dig into the mystery behind it. Once again, Rui was aware that every noodle restaurant in China had set their sights on taking him down. But this time, armed with intelligence from Sui Ren, who had gone undercover, Rui was ready. He crafted a plan that was even more devious than before. When Wang Qi showed up at the restaurant, Sui Ren and Wang Li were prepared to lead him astray. Though Wang Qi started getting suspicious, Sui Ren quickly shifted gears, disguising himself as a local thug. He invited Wang Qi to wait, keeping him off balance. Meanwhile, Khan recruited a few extra people to help sell their ruse. They were going to pose as members of a bizarre cult. Wang Qi, still uneasy but desperate to get answers, insisted on entering. That's when Wang Li, now dressed as a cult member, presented a photo of Wang Qi, claiming he was to be the next sacrificial offering. Shaking with fear, Wang Qi rushed back to Weitan, eager to report the strange incident. But Rui was already one step ahead. He had planted a doctored CCTV recording, featuring a foreign man posing as Wang Qi. When Wang Qi protested that the video was fake, Rui remained calm, his deception flawless. No one could deny the evidence he'd created, and once again, Rui had outsmarted them all. Meanwhile, with fresh intel from Sui Ren, Rui caught wind of a small restaurant that had suddenly shot up the rankings, all thanks to a glowing endorsement from a wealthy food blogger named Bian. Inspired by this, Rui knew exactly what he had to do. He'd get Bian's attention and use the endorsement to his advantage. On the other side, Fuzi was seething with determination. His restaurant had fallen from its coveted second-place ranking, and he was hell-bent on taking back what he'd lost to Rui. His assistant warned him that Bian was notoriously busy, but Fuzi wasn't listening. With stubborn resolve, he demanded a meeting with the food blogger, even getting into a heated argument with his bodyguards over the matter. On the other hand, Wang Qi had been quietly keeping tabs on Rui, and soon enough he uncovered the truth. Rui was the mastermind behind it all. Without Rui knowing, Wang Qi reported back to Weitan. That evening, Weitan appeared unannounced at the restaurant, a move that caught Rui off guard. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Rui instructed the staff to clear out, leaving just him and his father-in-law to face the inevitable confrontation. At that moment, Wei Tan spoke of his regret, noting that while he didn't mind Hong Rui opening a restaurant, he understood it wasn't about cooking. The real motive was clear. Hong Rui was after the prize money from the competition to fund his dream of making films. Wei Tan had always known that Hong Rui had more talent in the kitchen than behind the camera. But what frustrated him even more was Hong Rui's relentless ambition. He wasn't just aiming to be a chef. He was determined to own the best noodle restaurant in the country and use it to fund his filmmaking dreams. Despite everything, Wei Tan could only shake his head in frustration, knowing his son-in-law's stubbornness wouldn't let him back down. In the end, all he could do was remind Hong Rui to remember the lessons he had taught him and to not make it too easy for him to succeed. The rivalry between father-in-law and son-in-law was in full swing, each of them determined to outdo the other. It wasn't just about winning the championship anymore. It was about pride, ambition, and chasing their dreams. Hong Rui and Wei Tan both fought fiercely to provide the best service, each upping the ante at their respective restaurants. Wei Tan brought in performers to entertain his guests, while Hong Rui introduced makeup artists to add a touch of flair. As the competition heated up, the points for both restaurants kept rising, with no clear leader. Every move, every decision was carefully calculated, and the tension was palpable. Then, the day of the championship announcement arrived. Everyone waited with bated breath, the air thick with anticipation. For Hong Rui, it wasn't just about winning, it was about securing the prize money, about keeping his dream of filmmaking alive. Finally, the moment arrived. When the champion was announced, it was Hong Rui's name that echoed through the room. His restaurant had triumphed, earning the title of China's #1 noodle restaurant. Laughter and cheers filled the air, and even Fuzi offered his congratulations, acknowledging Hong Rui's hard-fought victory. But as the celebration raged on, Wei Tan wasn't angry. In fact, he felt a quiet sense of pride. Not because Hong Rui had become the best chef, but because he had become something far more important. A better person, more driven, more capable than he had ever been before. Shortly after, Wei Tan sat back, lost in thought, reflecting on the journey he had shared with Hong Rui. A few years ago, Hong Rui had been nothing more than a poor, aimless wanderer, someone who could barely get by. During this time, Wei Tan had often given him free meals, and over time their bond had deepened. They became so close that Hong Rui came to think of Wei Tan as a brother, and in turn, Wei Tan taught him the recipes that had made his restaurant famous. It was these shared moments that eventually led to Hong Rui becoming his son-in-law. He had fallen in love at first sight with Mei Mei, Wei Tan's daughter, who was now his wife. Fast forward to the present. After the victory, Hong Rui was surrounded by his crew, celebrating their hard-won success. Cheers and laughter filled the air as they congratulated each other, but all eyes were on Hong Rui. Without him, none of this would have been possible. Yet, even with the win, the crew wasn't quite ready to return to filming. They argued that closing the restaurant suddenly would shock the loyal customers, especially Ji Wu, who had been a constant thorn in their side. Wang Li suggested a compromise. While continuing to run the restaurant, they would start preparing for the film. It was a solution that balanced both their dreams. The celebration didn't stop there. Hong Rui took the opportunity to treat his wife and father-in-law as well. This time, he didn't take them to some cheap diner. No, he could afford more now. He led them to a 5-star restaurant, a place where they could truly enjoy the fruits of his hard work and success. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a victory in itself, one that symbolized how far he had come. In that moment, Wei Tan finally acknowledged what he had never been willing to admit. He had misjudged Hong Rui. The jealousy he felt seeing his friends surpass him had clouded his judgment. But now he realized that Hong Rui wasn't just a friend anymore. He was his son-in-law. He had responsibilities, not only to make his daughter happy, but to chase his own dreams. And in that moment, Wei Tan saw Hong Rui for who he truly was, a man striving for more. Soon after, Hong Rui ran into his old film crew at the restaurant, including the producer. At that moment, the producer wasted no time, bluntly informing Hong Rui that he had been fired. The investors had deemed his work unsatisfactory, and the producer didn't want to risk his own reputation by keeping him on as director. Despite the harsh words, the producer tried to soften the blow, telling Hong Rui that it wasn't the quality of his film that was the issue. It was simply a matter of timing, an opportunity missed. He offered what he thought was some comfort, advising Hong Rui to find a job more suited to his skills. It wasn't the encouragement Hong Rui had hoped for, but it was clear. His path in filmmaking had just hit a dead end. Days passed after Hong Rui was fired, and despite the blow to his pride, he couldn't shake the thought that he wasn't the bad director everyone had made him out to be. Still, there were some battles worth fighting, and then there were those that simply couldn't be won. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but the harsh truth was clear. Some dreams were slipping through his fingers. A year went by, and despite the prize money he had won, Hong Rui refused to touch it. Instead, he started selling off his film books, the remnants of a dream that was quickly fading. But then, one afternoon, Wang Li called him to the restaurant, a call that piqued his curiosity. When Hong Rui arrived, he was taken aback. The restaurant was filled with filming equipment. It was a setup, one he hadn't expected. He wondered why Wang Li and Sui Ren had gone to such lengths. Wang Li smiled and explained, revealing that the equipment was meant to continue Hong Rui's previous film. The spark of hope reignited in Hong Rui's chest. It was revealed that Wang Li had discovered something unexpected during their time selling noodles at the shabby restaurant. What had started as a chaotic mess in a cluttered warehouse filled with old filming equipment had somehow turned into a place he'd grown to enjoy. Despite the countless setbacks, Hong Rui, ever determined, kept pushing forward, refusing to let go of his dream. But if Hong Rui thought this was all Wang Li or Sui Ren's doing, he was mistaken. The entire setup, the decorations and the ambiance were the work of Mei Mei and Wei Tan. In the months following the event, Hong Rui had seemed distant, drained, and defeated, his spark fading. But Mei Mei and her father never wavered in their support. No matter what, they stood by him. Mei Mei would do anything to help him, and Wei Tan shared the same unwavering sentiment. While Wang Li and Sui Ren had worked tirelessly on the setup, it was Mei Mei and Wei Tan's love and belief in him that kept Hong Rui going. In the final moments of the film, Hong Rui found himself face to face with Mei Mei. He apologized, his voice thick with gratitude, thanking her for standing by him through every hardship. He didn't know how to repay her or her father, but one thing was crystal clear. The next chapter of his film wasn't just a story, it was theirs. Hong Rui was starting his new film, and Mei Mei would be the leading lady. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is, sometimes the best way to chase your dreams is by serving up some hot noodles and a side of clever deception. Just make sure your crew knows how to handle a little bit of case and a whole lot of noodles.